I'm hungry. I think I feel for some sushi, but I'm lazy, so I'm not really feeling for going out of my apartment. So yeah, I don't have sushi, but I have soy sauce. So this is a bad idea. Let's skip that. Yeah. Hello and welcome to another review here on my channel. We're going to look at Sushi Striker, the way of Sushido. Yes, indeed. If I understand correctly, this is a first-party game from Nintendo, a new IP. I don't know if that is true, but anyway, it was originally only announced for 3DS, but was later announced for both 3DS and the Nintendo Switch. And I bought it on Nintendo Switch because I wanted some games on Nintendo Switch. Anyway, it was released in June of 2018, which is this year. So yeah, and it did get some great reviews for a new IP, in my opinion. So yeah, but let's just jump right into it. The game was set in a world where sushi isn't available for everyone, essentially. It is just the Empire, if I remember correctly, are essentially controlling all of the sushi, and they essentially the Emperor that are the only one that can eat sushi, essentially. All the fish in the seas have been dried out, there are no more fish, but in the world there are sushi sprites, essentially, that can create sushi from, I guess, from thin air or some magical place. So that is what I'm getting. You are controlling a boy or a girl. Boy, girl. I can't remember the names. Bollocks. Anyway, you're controlling this kid that essentially are boy or girl, depending on which one you choose, that essentially are living poorly, aren't getting decent enough food. So you're living in a village, him or she. I played a he, so I'm going to say he throughout the review. He essentially trying to get food to all the children in the village that he living in, and all of them are essentially poor and doesn't get decent enough food. One day he stumbled upon a guy that essentially gives him a sushi sprite, which gives him sushi, I think, for the first time, if I remember correctly, and he loves it. And his goal is essentially to what is it called? Dissolve the Empire or destroy them or whatever, and in order to give make sushi available for everyone in the nation. So that is essentially this synopsis. It is simple, but it is interesting and fun in my opinion. I didn't mention that throughout the storyline we also have a rebellion that Musashi, I think his name was. Anyway, Musashi essentially joins and are trying to destroy the Empire, essentially. So yeah, I think it's simple but interesting and enjoyable for what it is, and yeah, I liked it for what it is, essentially the storyline. Gameplay, or essentially you can call it a puzzle action game, essentially. You have a world that you go around. It is a map similar to the simplest one to compare it to will be Mario, essentially. An old world where you go around different points where you essentially do a match against an empire guy or of enemy essentially. And the gameplay essentially that I'm pointing. There are plates of sushi that go on a band in front of you, and depending on which type of gameplay you choose, you can essentially use the analog stick or your finger on the Switch. I think it is similar on the 3DS essentially, so yeah. You essentially match the colors of the plates in order to stack as many plates as you can. The more of the plates you stack, you can essentially attack, get more attack points essentially, because the plates that you have that are empty plates, you fling or throw at the enemy in order to essentially hit him or damage him. The more plates you have in the stack, the more attack points or damage you can give the enemy essentially. You also have a combo version, which essentially you throw the same color of plates several times, or the same color of plates stack of the same color essentially many times. You have several stacks of plates of the same color essentially, and you can get a combo which is essentially more hit points. So yeah, and that is essentially the gameplay for the most part. You have the single player part, you have also online multiplayer, which I never tried, but it is probably the same puzzle thing, but against another player. You also have what is called challenge plays, where essentially in a small amount of time going to link the same type of color of plates, and if you fail, you essentially are going against a robot. If you fail, he will kill you, otherwise you will kill him. So yeah, the gameplay are fun and interesting in my opinion, but can get a little bit repetitive after a while, because it is the same gameplay throughout the game essentially. What I failed to mention as well is that you have these Sushi sprites. They have different powers that you can use when you have filled a meter under them. You can have up to 3 at the same time. So essentially, this is a Sushi sprite. They are similar to Pokemon, Digimon, etc. They can evolve. The difference here is that they use the same name essentially throughout the evolvement, and I don't really know what evolving them essentially do, but maybe how they look cooler or something like that, I don't know. But that is that. But as I said, I think the gameplay are fun, but can be a little bit repetitive after a while, so yeah. Music and the score in this game are really good for the most part. It is, what do you say, it hit the right mode depending on which enemy you are going against, and when you're running around in the overworld essentially. So I like it for what it is, so yeah. The enemies are, well, they are essentially doing the same thing that you do as a player, but they also have the Sushi sprites. So some of the Sushi sprites I didn't get, so I don't know if you can get them throughout the game. You probably can, but anyway, they have some criteria that they use in order to make it harder sometimes, such as having a combo wall, which is a Sushi sprite that you set up a wall, which you need to throw the same stacks of the same color essentially all the time in order to hit him essentially. You also have several similar things like that. So, but I think the enemies are colorful, at least the boss guys, they are colorful and interesting, and I think overall they are different enough to be a little bit fun, but after a while, when it comes to the later parts, it just get a little bit stale in my opinion, and it is the same type of enemy throughout most of the time essentially. So yeah. The environments can difference a little bit when you run around in our world, but overall you don't see that much because the screen that you see for the most part, well, just your playfield and the enemy's playfield when you essentially go on attacking them, etc. So the environments you don't really see that much, but the ones you see are different enough to make it interesting, and I like them for what they are essentially. Just like the way of Sushido are a fun, interesting game that I think do enough to make it a fun experience, but I don't really like that they are, what's it called? The gameplay can get a little bit too repetitive in the end, and it is essentially the same throughout the entirety of the game. It isn't that much differentiation in my opinion, even though the sprites have different powers that essentially changes the game fit. It gets too repetitive in the end. And the environments, even though I like them, it isn't that much to go on because you see the same screen for the most part. For the most part, it is the same screen you see throughout the game, essentially, in my opinion. But it is an enjoyable experience. I really like it and really recommend it. It is a good pastime game, essentially, if you like puzzle games. So the final verdict for Sushi, the way for Sushido, are going to be an 8.5 out of 10. That's all for today, folks. I'll see you next time. Bye. And I need to do something with this soya.